Welcome to Saving America. This is your host, Dr. David D. Shine. Our series of interviews for Saving America establishes that the world is full of interesting people. And I think when you hear this next interview, you're going to agree that this gentleman, Michael Hingson, is indeed one of America's interesting people. We welcome him for his first interview on Saving America.
The next day, I called Guide Dogs for the Blind out in California, where I've gotten my dogs. And I spoke to a number of people there because we remembered that some of them at least had come and visited us in the World Trade Center. Among others, I spoke to Joanne Ritter, who was our public information officer at the time. And she said, "Do you mind if I write a little article about you?" And I didn't think about it long. I said, "Okay, why not?" And she said, "You're going to be visible in the press. What TV show do you want to be on first?" And so I was very flip. I just said, "Larry King Live." 2 days later, I had the first of 5 interviews on Larry King Live. The media did get the story and we got very visible. But I'm grateful for all of that. Karen and I decided that we would do the interviews, or that I would do the interviews. But those interviews and talking to all the press, answering so many countless questions, some good, some bad, some sort of in the middle, was the therapy that I needed to move forward from September 11th, because it's important to talk about things like this. It's important to get your mind around them, and it is possible to do. So for me, the media really helped a lot. It's sort of ironic to say that, since we pick on the media so much, oftentimes deserved. But for me, it helped a great deal. And then people started calling and saying, "Would you come and talk to us about the lessons to learn from the World Trade Center and other lessons you feel we should know?" And that, by the beginning of 2002, became my career. I decided that selling life and philosophy was a whole lot more rewarding and satisfying and fun than managing a computer hardware sales team and selling computer hardware. So I became a public speaker, and Guide Dogs for the Blind asked if I would move back to California and be their spokesperson, which I did, and that lasted about 6.5 years.
And then our third question, which transitions into what you just said in terms of changing careers and changing your approach to what you're doing. You have an impressive list of companies in many major industries have asked for your insights. For younger professionals hoping to follow in your footsteps, what do you recommend as an approach to getting started and getting out there?
Well, first of all, very quickly, I realized several years ago that we have a whole new generation that never experienced September 11th at all and doesn't have any memory of it. So one of the things I feel is my job in a positive way is to draw people in and make them feel like they were there that day so that they really understand what happened. And I've learned a lot over the years. I learned that good salespeople always have stories to tell, positive, real stories, but they have to relate to people. So as a public speaker, that's what I do. When I am approached by people who say, "Gee, I'm interested in speaking and so on, and what do I do?" I will talk with them, and I urge them to find local Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, Elks clubs, and so on. They don't pay for speakers, but it's a great place to practice. Try to record your speech and listen to what you record. I used to say I'm my own worst critic. And listening is one of the ways I learned from that. What I've realized over the last year, that's the wrong thing to say. I am my own best teacher, and listening to every recording that I do gives me the opportunity to learn. And I always learn from listening to myself. And so I want to do that. And I encourage people who haven't been speakers to do that. I encourage people to find stories, find ways to relate to audiences, learn about your audience when you're going to go to speak. Like I said, with Rotary clubs and so on, there's a lot of interest in business and so on, so there are a lot of things to do. But relate to your audience, monitor your audience. Don't lock yourself into a specific speech to the point where all you do is deliver that speech. I've seen some really boring speeches in my life, and all they're doing is reading information off of slides that they put up. I don't do that. I don't use slides at all, very deliberately. And I also customize every talk that I give because I believe that it's important to relate to the audience and do that by understanding from the event sponsor what they're looking for. I was approached a few months ago to speak at an event this past Tuesday, and originally I thought that it was just going to be about the World Trade Center story, but they had a specific issue that they wanted addressed because they were dealing with some legislative issues. And I had an opportunity in talking with them initially to talk about some things I'd done with the legislature in Massachusetts, and they said, "Would you tell us some of those stories?" Well, so I went down there. It was actually in San Marcos, Texas, and on Tuesday I delivered my speech, and then they had another session where they wanted to teach their audiences about legislatures, how to deal with the legislature, and they said usually it's like pulling teeth to get people to go to that because they're afraid to talk to their state and congressional representatives and so on. They said, this is the first time, and it's after you spoke, that the room was totally packed and there was nobody in the other breakout sessions. So I guess I did something right to show them why it's important. And the legislators mostly are as human as they are, and they just really want to hear, and you have to relate to them. So it was great, and I very much enjoyed it and had a great time giving that speech. And I have others coming up. And, you know, for anyone who's looking for a keynote speaker to inspire and teach, I'm available to do that. And, you know, people are welcome to reach out to me at michaelhingson.com, but it is what I do. And I will customize every talk that I give. And when we agree on a speaking fee, I don't limit myself to one talk if they want me to do more than one breakout sessions or whatever. My job is to do whatever the event sponsor needs me to do. I'm a guest when I go there, and I'm not a prima donna or anything like that. And my job is to inspire, to teach, to motivate, and to help people learn how to deal with things that we face today.
Michael Hingson, you are a wonderful guest, and this is a fantastic story. We very much appreciate your time today. And are your books, you've got two books out then, Thunderdog and Live Like a Guide Dog. Are those both on Amazon?
They are Thunderdog, the true story of a blind man and his guide dog about, and the triumph of trust at ground zero. The second book actually I wrote, which we haven't mentioned, is Running with Roselle, which was a children's book, but more adults buy it. It talks about really meeting, well, growing up and Roselle growing up and how we met and so on. That was published through Amazon. Thunderdog was published by Thomas Nelson, which is now part of HarperCollins. And then in August of this year, Live Like a Guide Dog, the true story, well, no, actually, it's Live Like a Guide Dog, stories from a blind man and his dogs about being brave, overcoming adversity, and moving forward in faith, was published by Tyndale House, and it is available, like Thunderdog, anywhere books are available. So hopefully people will buy them. If you do buy it and read it, I sure hope that you'll give us a wonderful review on Amazon, because those reviews are important to us. But they're available. And when I travel to speak anywhere, if people will allow me to or want me to, I will bring the books, and we make them available. And of course, I sign every book that we do sell there. But it's fun. Speaking is enjoyable. I have never regretted making the change, and I really love having the opportunity to help teach people. And it also teaches people about blindness and that we're just human like everyone else.
Well, thank you so much, sir. This is Dr. David D. Shine for Saving America. Thanks for joining us today. And remember to subscribe on your favorite platform.